Hello and welcome to Virtual Investor Conferences. On behalf of OTC Markets, we're very pleased you have joined us for our 3-day Metal and Mining Conference. Our next presentation is from Camino Minerals. Please note you may submit questions for the presenter in the box to the left of the slides. You can also view a company's availability for a one-on-one meeting by clicking Book a Meeting at the top toolbar. At this point, I'm very pleased to welcome Jay Chmielewski, Chief Executive Officer and President of Camino Minerals, which trades on the OTC markets under the symbol CAMZF and on the TSXV under the symbol COR. Welcome, Jay.
Well, thank you, Greg. Thanks for that introduction. It's a pleasure to be speaking with you today about copper and Camino, which are two topics I'm very passionate about as an investor in the company, and I'm the CEO of Camino. First of all, Camino is a brand new investment opportunity. We've just closed a major acquisition to build a permitted copper mine in Chile with our partners that include our largest shareholder, a $10 billion PE fund from Houston, Denon Capital, and a Japanese mining house, Nititsu Mining, with mining operations and know-how in Chile. The Puquios asset has been out of the public domain with a private holding company. You'll find that it's a very unique, well-advanced, and for that reason, we have a very scarce portfolio of copper assets that we are introducing to the world investment community. We are starting to market right here in the US on the OTC. This is our first time to do this conference on the OTC. And then this week I'll be traveling to Europe to spread our business plan and tell people about what we're doing in Chile and Peru. So you're getting a first crack at seeing our presentation here and our business plan. One of the questions I want to address just right up front here is, why you should invest in copper, in particular, copper in Chile and Peru. And to answer that, the US imports over 70% of all of its copper needs from Chile. In fact, the three largest copper producing nations, Chile, Peru, and the Democratic Republic of Congo, produce over 45% of the world's copper. So why is this? It's because of the geology and their comparative advantage. Chile and Peru and the DRC have copper geological endowments that are multiples of the countries that come up as what I call the best in the middle of the pack, which would be the United States, Canada, and Russia. The quality of the deposits in Chile and Peru, which includes grade, infrastructure, environmental stewardship, and workforce, are the best in the world. This is why the largest copper mining companies in the world, including America's own Freeport-McMoRan, are invested in Chile and Peru. And I mentioned comparative advantage and quality of deposit because this is very important for international trade. Countries get richer and wealthier the more they trade by tapping into the comparative advantage of other countries. And the best example I have of this is aluminum manufactured in Canada, and I'm Canadian. It's not because Canada has major bauxite mines, which is where aluminum comes from. It's because we have the cheapest energy in North America and likely the world. It also happens to come from renewable energy, mostly from hydroelectric sources. And this is why some of the largest aluminum producers in the world are based in Canada. The Canadian aluminum gets sold to America and gets turned into value-added aerospace and Boeing airplanes. The high-paying jobs in the aluminum sector in Canada support the high-paying and much larger workforce in America. With balanced trade, America can then sell its products back to the world, including the high-paid workers in Chile, Peru, and Canada that can afford to buy the best-made American products. This trade supports and creates a global marketplace to sell products that are more cost-effective and higher quality. Trade provides markets for companies like Boeing to grow its business beyond simply the borders, or beyond the United States. So copper is the same. Chile and Peru have a comparative advantage to produce copper. Yes, the United States will open up new copper mines to support their own industries. However, this will take years and decades, in the best case, to go through even a fast-track permitting cycle, financing stages, engineering, and exploration stages, which you'll see in my presentation that follows this opening statement. But if the US wants to be the manufacturing powerhouse to compete with China, then it's going to need a whole lot more copper. To give you an example, China buys almost 50% of all the copper in the world to support their industries. And China is continuing to make major investments around the world to secure copper resources in countries that have the best comparative advantage, like Peru and Chile. Camino is an opportunity for you as an investor to capture our business growth in a deeply discounted copper sector. So let's fly to Chile. I'll be making forward-looking statements throughout this presentation. And I'm based here in Vancouver, and we'll fly down to our operations in Chile. So we get down to Santiago, and from Santiago, it's either a drive or a 1-hour flight up to La Serena, which is an industrial town built along the coast of Chile, a beautiful town. And from there, it's about a 2-hour drive up to our Puquios mine site along excellent roads. This is a first world country. And we get up to the town of Punta Colorado, which is where our company keeps its infrastructure. This is a project, as I said, with a private company. It was stewarded by Denham Capital. So we have the highest environmental standards in Chile, and we followed those as a company. And more importantly, this is a reserve grade company. So the exploration has been done. We've completed the engineering work for the project. And what we're building is what's called an SXEW mine, which we're mining, basically processing that green ore, green and black chalcocite ore that's soluble. This is the most cost-effective way to build a copper mine. We own our own water wells that you see there. That well is enough to supply the mine with fresh water. And then we've contracted a power source with Barrick Power, their power station here. And with that, we can take our power up this 45-kilometer corridor up to our mine site. And this corridor, this mine, this road is maintained by Barrick all the way to our turnoff. And after our turnoff, it's about a kilometer up to the earthworks that you see here that will receive the SXEW copper processing plant. Everything in this design is gravity fed. So we have our crushing system above the SXEW plant. And then above that, we've got our deposit. And this deposit sticks right out of the ground. It gives us a nice strip ratio. You'll see it here. We've got a large sulfide resource below this shallow open pit. And flying to the top of the mine, we can look over the edge. And of course, all of these projects have exploration potential. And beyond building the mine and scaling the mine up, we see exploration potential on our 10,000 hectares that surround the property. Flying back down over the mine, this is a project that has been designed by Osenko Engineering, a tier 1 engineering firm with peer review by Hatch. And there you see our heap leach pads. This is where the copper comes from to the process plant, and we make copper cathode, which trades at a premium now in the world. So getting to my next slide here, our partners, Nititsu Mining and Denham Capital. This will be Nititsu's third project in Chile. They operate the Atacama Kozan mine that you see there with Chris Adams, our new chairman of Camino. Chris has a long history, 25 years running the Macquarie Bank's Mining Americas group. And so Nititsu built this mine 20 years ago. They are currently building a $400 million mine in Chile called Alcaros, which happens to be out of La Serena as well. And then Puquios, which is our 50% partnership with Nititsu, will be their third mine in Chile. Denham Capital, by their own right, are mine builders. They operate several mines and mining projects through Australasia and South America. They own, are the major shareholder of one of the largest tin and highest grade tin producers in the world in the DRC. So we've got good partners with a lot of mining know-how, and you'll see that also in the rest of the members of our board. When you're investing into the copper space, in fact, any mining sector, there's two places you can invest. One is with existing producers, and I've got an example here of BHP. And if you invested with BHP over the last 20 years, you would have doubled your money on that investment. Or if you hit these cycles at the right time, you could have gone 3 or 5 times on your investment. On the right-hand side, I've got an example of investing in a growth company, a growth mining company. And this is where Camino is positioning itself. And I use Antofagasta as an example. Now, Antofagasta bought their first mine, the Machia mine, back in the early 1990s, and they continued to build and scale up that mine and build and explore for new mines. And over the last 20, 30 years, they've made returns of many thousands of %. And this is the opportunity that we have with a mine building exercise, which is where Camino is. And you'll also see with our board that we have experience, including myself, building companies like this in the past. So Puquios, as I mentioned, is at the feasibility study level. We've completed the definitive feasibility study in 2021. We put out a pre-feasibility study to close our transaction a couple of months ago, which shows a mining capex of about $142 million. Very cost effective with capital intensity of about $16,000 per production annual tonnage of copper production, which is very competitive in the industry. And so to finance this, you'll see that the company is working with, through our partners, Nititsu Mining, with relationships with Japan debt funders, working with groups like the JBEC, which is the Japan Bank of International Commerce, where we are in discussions on a $100 to $110 million facility for this project. Nititsu has a track record of bringing investment to Chile. They've just received over $300 million for their Arqueros project, which they're building from the same group, JBEC. The equity side of the equation here, which would be another 20 to 30 million on the 142 million of initial capital. 50% of that comes from Nititsu, and the other 50% would come from Camino. Now, what's unique about our deal with our Japanese trading house is that Camino owns 50% of the offtake of this project. In fact, we own 50% of the offtake in our project in Peru as well, which I'll talk to you about next. And in this market, there's a lot of interest in offtake, and so you'll see as we go and look at financing options, that one of those options could in fact be a prepayment on our offtake. This is a reserve category project, as I mentioned. So we've got 26 million tons of reserve, which gives us a 14-year mine life, which is a nice long runway to build our company, as I mentioned earlier, in terms of adding more production and adding more businesses. What I like about Puquios is, what you see in pink there is our 14-year mine life, which is a soluble copper using just conventional sulfuric acid leaching technology. Below, the reserve, we do have a large porphyry system, and you can see in this cross section that using sulfide leaching technology and additional exploration, there's the opportunity to take this project 2 times, maybe 3 times, or maybe more in terms of size. And so this is work that you'll see Camino do in the future in terms of scaling up of the project and also really working towards a sulfide leaching technology. And mines are made. And I've got a track record of building one of China's largest gold mines in China, in Inner Mongolia, that I built 20 years ago with investment from Ivanhoe Mines. And Puquios is a mine that's ready to build. And you can see that even a mine like Puquios, from the time a geologist first walked onto the project to when to today, when it's permitted and ready to be built, it's been almost 25 years. And and going back to my opening statement, it takes many decades, many years to get to projects to this this stage, which I emphasize, this is a very rare scarce asset in the copper space, which is why we have interested parties coming to us with respect to offtake and bringing on new copper into the world. So I've taken you to Chile. That's where our production asset is, that we're permitted to build. And in terms of exploration, we have multiple projects down or up, I guess, up in Peru. I like to look at our strategy as being, constructing Puquios as our #1 asset, And we think we've got our second asset in Peru that would be next in line to be developed. And this is our Los Chapitos asset. We put a press release out this morning just to demonstrate the work that we're doing and the exploration work that is ongoing at that project to be our next in line to build. And then we'll continue to explore and grow the business. As I said, we're in a company building mode here. And once we get our first production asset off the ground, we think that there's tremendous opportunities to continue to build the business. And as an investor, this is a company that has the right mix of assets to drive value. Puquios, is at the construction stage of our business now. You see it in the typical Lassonde curve of value creation in the mining industry. We're right on that curve, and I should say, it's taken us 25 years, or the business 25 years to get to that point. Los Chapitos is on the discovery side of this value creation curve, and you can see that once you make the discovery and then you go into production, the value of the production asset still far exceeds the value of making the initial discovery. So we're on these two curves with Los Chapitos and Puquios. The Los Chapitos project is in Peru. Nititsu Mining, this is where we first met Nititsu, are our partners on this project. They're investing $9 million for a 35% interest in this business. So this project is fully funded for the next year as we continue to do more drilling and exploration on this asset. And we get exceptional drilling results, in Peru. 95 meters, 96 meters, 91 meters of 0.7, 0.9, 0.8% copper. These are excellent results for a soluble, copper business. And this is why, we like the project. Nititsu has come in to invest in the business. And what we're doing is we've identified 3 major copper systems across this 100 square kilometer land package we have. It's a very large land package. And we're just going up and down these copper trends, which is the Diva trend, the La Estancia trend, and the Atajo trend, in order to drill off what we call these mantos and find bulk deposits that we can put into production. Our initial target is to build a project at a similar size to what we see in Chile at Puquios. But the opportunity is much bigger. Nititsu came in and saw the opportunity at Los Chapitos, stepping out of the Candelaria district, which is one of the best mining districts in the world in Chile, to invest in our district here at Los Chapitos. And then this last year, Rio Tinto has come in and staked the ground immediately next to us. And the opportunity for Los Chapitos in this district is to discover something like the Minsur deposit you see there. And this mine is called Mina Justa. It's the world's newest copper mine. It's world-class because it produces about 100,000 tons a year of copper cathode, and it was built for $1.6 billion. So we'll continue to drill in Los Chapitos, while we advance the development of our production asset in Chile. We've got other exploration assets in Peru, which are very noteworthy. Maria Cecilia has had over $28 million invested into this project, 30,000 meters of drilling. And this is a project that at the right time in the mining cycle will continue to drill. And this is a very large porphyry system that extends over 5 kilometers. So there's other projects in the hopper that we can bring to the market at the right time. We're extremely undervalued compared to peers in the industry, and all of these peers are undervalued because the copper market has been depressed for the last 14 years. We see that cycle turning now, and so now's the time to buy as much copper as you can, which is what Camino is doing, and build our business. One note here, and I'll just sort of end on the last few slides here. You see the copper price rise here in 2024 up to over $5 a pound, which is record highs. And the same thing happened. It doesn't show it here in 2020, beginning of 2025. Part of that was front running the tariffs that were going into the U.S. But during that high copper price, all-time high copper price, when futures were almost over $5.50, $5.80 per pound, what happened to the largest mining companies in the world? And I'll tell you. So BHP, the last quarter, this is the last quarter from quarter to quarter changes. edged up by about 0.5. And you're going to see a theme here. Freeport down by 16.6%. Codelco fell 27.8%. Southern Copper stayed the same, rose slightly to 1.1%. Anglo American declined 6.9%. Rio Tinto dropped 8%. Antofagasta, this is the company I mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, dropped 22.8%. KGHM up 3.5%. Teck dropped 13.2%. Nornickel up 2.7%. First Quantum Mines, this is without Panama, which is a mine that was shut down, down 11%. Minmetals declined 6.9%. Vale fell 10.7%. And this information is courtesy of Benchmark Minerals Intelligence, a good group out of London. But you can see a trend here. At times when copper was at its all-time high, the biggest copper companies in the world, for multiple reasons, political disruptions, maintenance, grade decline, power outages, weren't producing copper. So we think it's a tremendous time to invest in the copper space, the copper sector. We think Camino is an excellent company to invest in. I mentioned our board. We've got added new members of the board to this new investment in the last 2 weeks, which are directors from Denham Capital. And by their own right, each one of these board members has had success and experience building mines around the world. I welcome you to join our community here, watch what we're doing, make an investment in Camino, and get some exposure to the copper industry, because we think that we're at the beginning of a major cycle, and we think investing in Camino, where we expect a re-rating to become a producer, more exploration results out of Peru. It's a good time to invest in a business where, in a company that is building a copper business. That's the end of my presentation. We'll move to question and answer period now. I can see that there's a number of questions that have come up over the board, and we'll just start to accumulate some of these questions and take some answers, and I'll provide some answers. Thank you very much for your attention, and please follow up if there's any questions outside of what you see here. There is an opportunity to book meetings with me directly over the next few days through this medium, this OTC medium. Thank you for your time, and I hope to keep talking to you, and I hope you follow Camino over the coming years. Okay, so I'm just going to look at the questions here, and I'll just start with what I see as the first question. When do you anticipate the confirmation of the debt facility, offtake agreements, and to make construction decisions? Yeah, so I'll start with the last part there. We'd like to make an FID, which is a final investment decision, towards the end of this year, 2025. So in order to do that, we do need confirmation, whether it's, well, it would be some sort of affirmation on the debt facility and the equity that would go with that, or a prepayment. So all of that we are working towards having in 2025, and there'll be other updates, that detailed engineering, this type of stuff to bring to the market as we're building, the business over the next year. The next question I have here is, can you discuss how you will fund the next stages of Pukia? So I think that's the same question there. It'll be a combination of equity that we'll raise, later in the year, and then perhaps a prepayment if that is the best avenue to go in. Next question here. So what are the catalysts for re-rating of Camino? I think a big catalyst is getting our business out into the market, which is what we're doing now. The Pukias asset was, as I mentioned in my opening statements, was a private asset. It was inside of a private company. So it's not known, to the public markets. So, a big part of what we're doing here is getting out to the world and telling them what we have And in terms of timelines, over the next year to make an FID decision is going to be one of the first copper companies in the sector to be able to start construction of a copper business. So I think that re-rating will happen starting today. I'm just going down the list here. What do you think are the beginning of the copper demand cycle? What do you think is the beginning of the copper demand cycle? So there's a number of drivers with copper, and you hear about them. AI data centers and electric cars and all this. By the way, electric cars, despite all the turbulence in the world, the demand has been up 27% worldwide over this last quarter. So we're continuing to see that conventional demand, but a lot of demand comes from some things that are not generally reflected out of the gate here. One of the things I've got on my desk here, I don't know if you can see this, but this is a copper wire that was just below a transformer that I have outside of my house on the Sunshine Coast. That copper wire is about as thick as my finger. And, when you think about electric cars and plugging in cars and the world going to electrification, it needs a lot more molecules being moved around the world. And the best way to move those molecules is with big, thick copper wires. And I do a lot of my own wiring here myself. And right now we use very small copper wire in order to charge our electric cars. If you do want a car to charge in 5 or 10 minutes, the whole grid system, the whole world is going to have to move to a lot more copper. And this is not picked up in any of the demand, forecasts that I see. But what I will say is, with the current market that, in the world right now, you will see, China, where they have delays on some demand aspects, they're picking it up with more grid investments. And China Grid is one of the largest companies in the world. And China is continuing to move ahead on their grid investments. And you'll see that happening throughout the world, including North America. So just looking through the questions here. Do you have an estimated date as to the next round of drilling at Los Chapitos? We don't, other than it's going to be the second half. I'm pushing for, sort of July, August to get started. And we've got Nititsu and our geologists on site actually today, this week. And we're just going through all of these budgets and timelines and the practicality of opening up roads and platforms. Los Chapitos is a project that is permitted now for drilling on most of our prospects. And so it just comes down to the practicality of where and how we drill and the targets being ready. But I am personally pushing for like a North America summer drilling program, just to keep some news, and results and value drivers in the marketplace. And any one of these drill holes, can be a discovery, which takes us back to that curve. It's an exciting time for Camino because we've got 2 projects on each value front. It's 10:28 now. I don't see many other questions in the queue here. I think what I'll do is I'll finish here, just to be ahead of time. And if anyone has any further questions, by all means, you can contact myself and Olga at Camino, and also make an appointment to have a one-on-one with us. Appreciate your time, everyone. Stay in touch, and we'll talk to you again at the next OTC event. Thank you.